Okay, at this time, I'd like to welcome the head coach of Texas, Karen Aston, to make opening comments, and then after that, it'll be questions directed towards the student athletes. So, Coach, at this time.
Well, good morning. It's absolute pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to play in a regional final here in Bridgeport. And first thing is that I really appreciate the fan base and the people that stayed and watched our game yesterday afternoon. I thought that was a real tribute to the knowledge of women's basketball and the passion of the fans here with women's basketball, because when you see some of the games across the country, when the teams that were local left the building, the fans left the building. So I really can appreciate, as a coach and a true fan myself, of the guys that stayed out yesterday. Really looking forward to tomorrow. Extremely, extremely proud of our team and our program right now and where we're at. I think that when we started the year this year, one of the goals that we set forth was to get to this point. We fell short last year. I think it was a big step for us to get to the Sweet 16 last year, but our team fell short, and it was something that we repeatedly talked about. Once we set the goal, we really never looked back on that being a true goal of our teams, which was to take one more step and get to the Elite Eight, and we've done that. And can't say enough about these guys, in particular our senior class, that has helped us build this program back to where it belongs. I'm extremely proud, and it's been, you almost get sentimental as a coach when you start to see the end wind down with a group of players that went through this process with you completely. And I've really enjoyed coaching these guys and appreciate what they've done for our program.
All right, thank you, Coach. And now at this time, we can open up the floor to questions directed towards the student athletes, and also just wait for the handheld microphones to get to you. So, first question. Sorry, can you
Sure.
ask that?
What do you guys? Any of you guys remember about last year's game against UConn that you played in that ended your season?
Oh, I remember losing. That's pretty much it.
All right, next question.
Marvin Chambers, Houston Sun, women's and women hoop world. Bonnie, there's been a lot of things said about Brianna Stewart. She's not a true five. She can play every position on the court. What are some of the things you have to do to be successful against her?
Brianna Stewart is a great player. She's been a great player for a very long time. I don't think there's anything I can do that's going to change her game. I think it's going to be a team effort on the defensive end, and it's just going to be great team defense, making sure she's taking contested shots and not getting easy looks. But it's not going to be me. It's going to be the entire team.
Selena, Rick Cantu, the Austin American-Statesman. Selena, why is your team better this year? What do you do better this year than you did last year at this point of the season?
I think for us, it's just knowing that we deserve to be here and that all of our hard work has put us in this position. And I think just being confident in ourselves and in each other on the court, it really helps us out there when we're playing for each other, and we're confident that each other will make shots, and if not, that we're there to get the rebound, small stuff like that. It really helps our team. So I think just being confident in each other.
Roger Cleveland from the Waterbury Republican American newspaper. Amani, as you watched last year's game with UConn, did you guys learn something about yourselves and how you could push yourselves to be better? I mean, was it a good learning experience in the end?
Yes, I think playing UConn last year, anytime you play one of the greatest teams, you know what you measure up against. Like, you see how far you have to go or where you're measuring up. And last year, I think they put the hammer on us because we gave up. We gave in when we kind of hit resistance. So I think we just figured out how to go through that wall. When the other team goes on a run, you know how to respond and you know how to stay within each other and not get down on yourselves. Because when the player was scoring us last year, we'd be like, okay, my player scored, so I'm not going to play help defense this time. I'm not going to go help my teammate. I'm going to make sure my man doesn't score. And that's when they go on their runs. That's when they dial in and they put the foot down. You know what I mean? So we just learned that we have to stay together when times get hard on the court and make sure we're locked into each other and helping each other regardless of what's happening.
Fran Harris, Longhorn IMG Radio. This is for Empress. Empress, yesterday, 10 minutes separated you from the end of your team from the end of the season. What did you say to your team at that point in the game?
Well, I think it was during a free throw. You know, we come to a huddle and we just say, you know, it's time to lock down. If we don't rebound, we don't win. So I think us coming together and saying, like, we need to do better. We need to get every rebound and we need to lock down the defense, help us to dial in to the last 10 minutes, the last quarter of the game.
Down in front here.
This question goes for Ariel. UConn has a tough defense. They extend their defense in their zone package. What are some of the things you have to do and cognizant of to be successful shooting over that extended in length?
I just think I personally have to be patient and stick with the game plan that our coaches set in front of us.
Down in front, yeah, Doug.
Amani, can you talk about the relationship you have with Coach Thompson and what she's brought to the program this year for you guys?
I think Coach Thompson has been like really helpful for me in particular, just in my terms of my offensive confidence. I think when you have a coach that's done it at every level and done it successfully, especially since she just retired 3 years ago, it's helpful to get that player perspective and kind of, because when Coach is talking, she's saying it from a coach's perspective, but she can like kind of dumb it down for me so I can understand it in terms of like positioning and just the simple things and the details. So she's just helped me in terms of my offensive confidence and knowing that I can do it.
Any more questions for student athletes? Yes, down the front here.
Empress, Moriah said that you guys go way back to fourth grade, and she remembers you when you used to just push the ball at the basket rather than actually rise up and shoot. How great is your relationship with her, and what do you like about her as a player and her competitiveness?
Well, I mean, as you said before, we've been playing together since we were young. And, you know, I started out as a post player. So, you know, she's always been a point guard. She's always been able to handle the ball. And I think just her competitive spirit, like, helps her through basketball. Like, she's so competitive and she has the will to win. So, I mean, tomorrow will be a great matchup, and I'll be happy to see her again.
Mel?
Yeah, Mel Greenberg. Any of the players, even though you didn't have success, is there anything you can take from playing Baylor 3 times this year that you can bring in this game to go against UConn?
I think we would have obviously wanted to beat Baylor, but one thing I think we've learned about Baylor is just kind of the same thing I was saying to the other reporter about not stopping when it gets hard. Baylor's a great team, and the reason they're really great is because they keep going, and UConn does the same thing. They don't really stop when they're up. They don't stop if they ever get down. They play really hard. So I think we've done really well at learning how to lock in when things get hard and kind of overcome that adversity.
In the back.
Fran Harris, Longhorn IMG Radio for Brooke McCarty. Brooke, what's your approach when you're playing swing for Karen, and then when Selena goes out of the game? Is your approach different when you move to the point? If so, how?
I think I've had to learn how to play both, because last year it was kind of like when Selena goes out, I'm the point guard, and when she comes in, I'm out. So this year, kind of learning how to like be in attack mode on the wing, and then learning how to facilitate and learn how to run the plays and get everybody where they need to be from the point guard position. So it's kind of a work in progress, but I feel like she's been a great leader in teaching me, and so I'm learning a lot from her.
Ariel, UConn leads the country in offense, and they lead the country in defense. Which impresses you more?
I mean, they're a good team to me, just all around, kind of like you said. They're good.
Any more questions at this time? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So again, as a reminder, locker room access will be open through the end of the interview with the head coach. And now you can direct your questions to Coach Aston. We'll start in the front with Kevin.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for your time, and congratulations on taking your program to a new high. I have a two-part question. The first one is, in covering the U.S. women's soccer team, I know opposing teams, when they see those players walk out of the locker room, opposing coaches have told me that they could see their players give up, and they see what's coming at them. How do you guard against that with your players, especially how last season ended? That's the first part. The second part, you mentioned you're a fan of the game. You're obviously a coach. Where would you put Gino, and where would you rank Gino and his success? Is this? It's never been done before. When you look at it as a coach and as a fan, how do you rate it?
Well, I think the experience from last year and trying not to have that deer in the headlights look that obviously everyone seems to have against them hopefully will help us, that we've been in this environment and played them before. I think when you look at teams that, and I don't want to say anybody's necessarily had success, but when you look at teams that have played them multiple times or have seen them before, then it is, I think, a little helpful than that first look at them. So hopefully we know a little bit more of what to expect and their pace, which is phenomenal, their competitiveness, which is phenomenal, and hopefully we're more competitive, because we weren't last year. I mean, you don't lose like we did and even move competitive in that category, but I do think that our team, as the players have said, they're more confident, they're more sure of their ability to overcome problems during a game, adversity. I think when you listen to the players, they're going to tell you a lot more about themselves than a coach is. So I do think that we're a little more prepared. As far as Gino is concerned, I mean, there's no denying that all of us in the coaching ranks have an enormous amount of respect for not only wins, but the way his teams play the game. I think when you're a coach, that's what you look at more than trying to pay attention to how many wins or championships he's had. You really appreciate how his teams play the game. And I've been fortunate enough to coach under some of the greatest that have coached the game in Jody, and I have spent a year with Kim. And I mean, my first job was with Sanja Hogue, if anybody remembers her. So I've had some pretty great experiences as an assistant coach, and I see great. I've seen it. I know what it looks like, and he is absolutely a terrific coach. But I think as I've, gotten older and get into other parts of coaching besides just what you do on the floor, I do appreciate the fact that as he has gone along in his career, he is beginning to, or has begun to, advocate for women. And I really appreciate that about him, because I think there was a point in time maybe when he wasn't doing that. He was just on his fast track. But I appreciate the fact that he's donated money to the Coaching Center for Excellence. I appreciate the fact that he has tried to grow our game. And that probably, for me, I notice those things more than I do maybe some of the other things.
Karen, I don't know if you heard about the first press conference today, but apparently Gino was reminded of a Boston Globe reporter who wrote, apparently yesterday or today, that UConn basketball is bad for the sport. And he took off almost the entire press conference on that angle. You as a coach, when you see the dominance and people saying it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to win, that it's not a good sport, what your reaction to that?
I'm sure he has a better angle on that than I do. I think we all need to get more competitive. I think we all know that in women's basketball. We know that parity is a great thing. What happened on Friday is a great thing for our game. Players just have to continue, and I think I've heard some coaches talk about this year. Players need to get in the gym. We all need to get better and continue to try to grow the game, period. So I think he has a better take on that than I do.
In the back.
Karen, over the last 24 hours since your win yesterday, I've seen probably 33 references to Texas having nothing to lose tomorrow. What's your response to people who say that your team walks onto the court tomorrow and you have nothing to lose?
Well, we absolutely have something to lose. We've only lost 4 times this year. So our team, as much as I guess everyone thinks that it's not possible, I think our team is going to try to focus on the fact that if we lose, we're done. I mean, it doesn't matter who we're playing, and I understand it's a big mountain, but we have some seniors that every time they walk out there, they know that it's over if they lose. And I think that's a real motivational factor for our team, that they have such good chemistry. And I've coached teams that, you could tell that when it was over, they were glad and they're ready to go back to whatever it is they think they want to do. But this team has not done that at all, and I really don't think they want it to be over. So I see them focusing more on that than I do that, we don't have anything to lose, let's just go try to win a game we're not supposed to win. I mean, we have goals, and we're trying to do something too.
Doug?
Hey, Coach. Doug Feinberg, the AP. Just picking up something you said before about teams that haven't really played them have not had much success against them. I think in the last decade, team that hasn't played them that year has never beaten them. I think you guys are playing them in the future, next couple of years in the regular season. Yeah. Is that part of the reason behind the scheduling of them? Is that to beat them, you have to play them and not have that deer in the headlights mentality?
Well, I think when you look at scheduling across the country, different people have different philosophies. And when you play in the league that we do and others play in the Power 5 leagues, you have sort of teams that have one philosophy, and then you have teams that have another. And some, they might play one competitive game knowing that the league play is going to prepare them for NCAA tournament, and they're going to get wins and build their resume like that. And then you have some people that have the philosophy that players like to play in big games in non-conference play. And I have followed the lead of really my administration, who, Jody and Pat had a long-standing home and home with Tennessee that we've continued. That, obviously we didn't have to do, but I do understand that players like to play in big games. So getting the home and home with Connecticut would put us in a situation where it was a big game in non-conference play. We play Stanford. We play Tennessee every year, and I think that's just a philosophy of ours. I don't know. I'm not trying to say it's smart. I don't know the answer to that, but I do think that the players enjoy it. They circle the games, even though maybe we get tired somewhere along the way in non-conference play. But I do think, and I thought our body of work was really good this year. We beat 2 teams that are in the Elite 8 right now in non-conference play. So I thought we had a pretty good body of work from our schedule.
Mel?
Yeah, Karen. In the mid-'80s, when Texas was bad for the game, and these players weren't bored yet, as you recruit to, kind of get the program even up higher and come back days, do they all understand what you're talking about, since they didn't really get to witness it, as far as the tradition that Texas has been?
Oh, players, they don't know a whole lot except what's going on in the moment, Mel. We do have to give them a little education in that, but it doesn't take but one X's weekend a year for our players to have an appreciation of the game and an appreciation of what we did in the 80s at Texas. Because the X's don't have a problem with letting us know. So it just usually after X's weekend, if you're a freshman and you didn't know the tradition of our school and you didn't know the history of our program, you do after X's weekend. So our players really appreciate the history of the game.
Coach Marvin Chambers, Houston Sun, woman who hoops well. As you go over your game plan and put things in proper perspective, what are some of the things, especially the first 5 minutes, you have to do well against UConn to be very successful?
Well, I think that there's a lot of things you have to do well. I do think that turnovers create them in the open floor, which is where they're deadly. So you want to try to get really quality possessions early in the game, and as many as you possibly can. I think when you look at teams that have competed with them, then those are teams that get good looks at the basket and they get some quality possessions. And again, our players, I think, said a lot when they talked about how fragmented we got last year and the fact that they do that to teams. I mean, they cause you to worry about your own man, and then you don't want to help each other, and they cause you to shoot quick. And so I think the fragmented comment that the players made is a good one. Teams that can stay together, but that's kind of the case at this level, period. They mentioned the Baylor game because that's a level of play that is pretty high. So when you start talking about being in the Elite Eight and having, you're one game away from a Final Four, then you're probably not going to see fragmented teams win. So it all makes sense.
Karen, Roger Cleveland from the Waterbury Republican American. Can you just talk about Moriah Jefferson and what it is that makes her such an elite point guard?
I think the thing that strikes me about Moriah, as you've watched her career, is just the difference in the way she shoots the basketball. And obviously, point guards are going to mature. You heard Brooke talk about the fact that last year she was overwhelmed probably with that position, and this year she's getting better, and each year she will continue to grow as a point guard. And I think that's what Moriah has done. She's evolved into a phenomenal point guard. But the other piece to that is there were times early in her career where you didn't necessarily guard her at the three-point line, and then you look now and she's shooting almost 50% or right at it from the three. So I think that's gym time, and that's all it is. It's time in the gym.
Coach, any chance your player is going to overlook UConn because they want so badly to play Baylor again?
Is it April Fools or something? Oh, Rick. I was just wondering why we're up here talking about UConn every question. Ask me something about Texas.
Your favorite memory, 4 seniors. They all
Thank you.
graduate. That's a big deal, I think, in your eyes. They all
My
graduate.
favorite memory will be if we were to win tomorrow night, for sure. It's hard to have one memory with a group like that. It's along the way, there's been some love-hate with the senior class. There's no question. I think when we first started, we were so intent on the culture changing and doing some things differently that I'm not sure they understood being in the moment the way they were, but I do appreciate the little things that they do now. Just making sure that we're walking in the gym correctly. That seems really little. But there are things that you do just from a discipline standpoint that carry over to everything else. I appreciate what they've done in the classroom. Really, really terrific student athletes. I appreciate the fact that they really had an intent on helping Texas get to a different place. And that's probably, if I can't pick a moment, because that's it. They have put Texas in a different place than when they got here. And so, again, lots of recruiting work with my assistant coaches and all of that to get players here. But they took that challenge, and they took it very seriously.
Last 2 questions will go Marvin and then Doug.
Coach Marvin Chambers again. What are the things that impress you this year with Imani?
Well, she got to play all year long, and I think that's something that's sort of lost in the shuffle with Imani, is that we just didn't ever have her for a full season. So just the fact that she got herself ready, prepared, she had to take some time off in the off season to do that, to give her body some rest, but mentally and physically she was ready to go from the get, and I think that's been the most significant thing. And the other part is the mental side, and I think she mentioned that Tina had helped her in that, but I also think that's just there's been a lot of people that have helped her, and along the way she's helped herself, and that's the biggest piece for her, is the mental side, the confidence that she can act. I mean, you would think that a 6'7" player wouldn't be lacking in confidence, but she was, and so she has a different mentality now than she had obviously when she got here. It's been fun to watch her grow.
Coach, the question asked Imani, which hopefully you can expand a little bit, just what Tina's brought to you guys as a coach? I mean, obviously she had such a great career as a player, but what she helped bring to the program so far in this first year as a coach?
I think I said this the other day. Someone asked me the same question, and it would be interesting on the flip side to hear Tina's take on it, because I know the first year as a coach at this level is pretty mind-blowing. It's almost like being a freshman. And I'm sure there are days that she's come to work thinking, holy cow, what is this? Because you feel that way your first year of coaching. And the thing that I can say for her is that it's really obvious that she is a competitor. And competitors go to work and they figure out how to get to the next day, and that's what strikes me the most about her, not just what she's done with Imani, because she's not afraid to take our point guard and say, you need to do this. And it just means that she's an ultra competitor, that once she got her feet on the ground and realized this is competition, whether it be in recruiting or whether it be in practice or whether it be scouting with film, she has taken it very seriously, and that's a reflection of her personality. So probably even though I think she's helped us tremendously on the floor, I think the off-the-court stuff, her mentorship and her ability to give them answers that they might have gotten the same answer from me. But it's kind of like mom telling you something over and over, especially for 4 years, and then you hear it from someone else. It sometimes makes a significant difference, and she says the right things, as do all my staff. I would say the same thing about Travis being a former NBA player and having the knowledge that he does, but also the mentorship skills. I have a tremendous staff that's done a great job keeping these guys looking straight ahead.
All right, Coach, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude the regional final pre-game day press conferences.